Chapter 41. Noah POV. I watched in confusion as she enters and then looked left and right in the corridor. She then closed and locked the door before turning to us. I'm sorry. I must be freaking you out with all these tactics. I need to just tell you both something, and I don't want anyone to know this, she said as I frowned but nodded. Not even your father, Noah, she said as my eyes widened. Not even father? I whispered, shocked. Mother never hides anything from father. They share and discuss every matter before bringing it to the public. But now, I know you're shocked by the statements. I can understand everything, but what I'm saying will not be accepted by your father. Even I do not want to do this. It's too dangerous. But it must be done no matter what, she said as I looked at her worry. What are you saying, Mother? I asked as she looked at me in worry. She then turned to Veronica before she smiled in sadness. How are you feeling, my child? She asked as Veronica nods. I'm better, she said as Mother sighs. I'm sorry about your father, she said as I felt Veronica tense. It's okay. I'd rather not speak about it, she said as Mother nods, looking at her sadly. Mother, please tell us, how do we lift the kiss? I asked as my mother looked at me. She stared at me for a little longer as her hands formed into a fist. When I was doing the ritual to become a queen, I met with Lot for me, she said as my eyes widened. He told me that we should prepare for the worst and stay strong. He was confusing me, and I was new to all this, but now I know what he meant, she said as she looked at Veronica. I was here when I heard Wilfred tell you about the past, she said as my eyes widened. Mother, I said, but she smiled at me. Don't worry, my child. I will tell no one, she said as I nodded. Wilfred talked to you about my past? Veronica asked, shocked, as I turned to her. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she looked so broken. Don't you hate me after hearing that? She asked as my eyes widened. Why would we hate you? I asked as I stopped in front of her. I caused all this. I caused the death of my mother, and I was the reason the terrain was destroyed. Don't you hate me? She asked as I grabbed her hand. It is not your fault. It was your father's decision and no one else, I said as she looked at me broken. But, she started, but my mother cut her out. No, but. Your father took the decision to save his daughter and wife, and it was his responsibility alone. Never blame yourself for that, she said as I nodded to support. Okay, she whispered as I looked at Mother. Please continue, Mother. How can we break this curse? I said as she nods. Kill the devil. It's simple as that, she said as my eyes widened. Kill a god? I asked, shocked, as she nods. Yes, Lord Vamir told me to train both of you. Prepare you for the worst. I didn't know much then, but I'm proud of how you both grew up. You both together have the capability to destroy the god, she said as I frowned. How? I asked, confused, as Veronica spoke up. The Power Stone, she asked as Mother smiled and nodded. Smart girl, she said as Vero smiled. But it's in the devil land, I said. She frowns and nods. It is. That is why you both will go on a secret mission, Mother said as my eyes widened. Secret mission? Why? I asked. She sighed. Noah, you and Veronica is the only chance we have. Our land is being more and more poisonous day by day, not only terrain, but earth too. Chaos started, and we have not much time left. Your father will not allow you both to go for a mission to Serene. It will take time to convince him, and it is just wasting our precious time. Both of you together are stronger than you think, she said, as my eyes widened in remembering something. Light alone cannot destroy him, nor can darkness, but combined they both are powerful, I said, as both of them looked at me confused. That is what the Lord said to me. Mother is right. Only we can do it. We need to go to the devil's land, I said, as the two others nodded. But how? Mother asked, as Veronica stepped forward. I know a person, she said, as I frowned and looked at her. Dr. Mish, she said, as my eyes widened. The demon doctor, I asked, as she nods. You're right. I will contact Wilfred and talk to him about the matter. Hopefully, he still has contact with the doctor, Mother said, as she stood up and looked at us. You should prepare to leave. I know your state is not the best as of now, Veronica, but we can't risk it. You need to do it fast, she said before taking a pouch she always carried. These are immediate and effective strain medicine if you get sick. I will contact Wilfred right away. Prepare for the journey, she said, as Vera took the bag and nodded. Also, your father might come in tomorrow morning, so I want you both going tonight, she said, as I looked worried. But he will be furious, I said, as she smiled at me. Yes, he will be. I will divert his plans to finding you as long as I can, but please, be careful, she said, as she came and hugged me tightly. Please, come back to us, she said, as she kissed my forehead and sniffs. As she moved back, she wiped her tears and went to Veronica. My son will protect you with all his might, Vera. Please, don't worry, she said, as Vera nodded. She kissed her forehead too and grabbed her hand, smiling at both of us. Maybe after all this, we can live happily and in peace. Perhaps you both can love without hindrance, she said, as both of us blushed brightly. Mom, I said, as she smiled and made way to the door. I will see you both after your mission, she said, giving us a last smile before walking out. I turned and looked at Vera, but she was already staring at me. Is anything wrong? Do you feel sick? I asked, worried. She looked away immediately. Nothing's wrong, she said, as I sighed, knowing she is lying. Okay, let's take rest so we're strong for mission, I said, as she nods and walked to the bed. Good night, she said as I nod. Good night. Chapter 42. Veronica's POV. I still don't think it is a good idea for you both to go alone, Philip mumbled as I smiled and pat his shoulder. It is a Veronica Noah mission. The demon air is too strong for you. We'll be careful, don't worry, I said, as he frowned, still not liking the idea. You both ready? Wilfred asked, walking into the room with Noah. Noah at first frowned, and then glared before he walked in between us. I laughed and turned, but all of a sudden, I felt the same feeling inside my head and heart. I froze for a moment, trying to calm down. A hand suddenly fell on my shoulder, making me jump in shock. Shit, I cursed, as Noah took his hands off and looked at me in shock. Are you okay? He asked, all three of them looking at me with wide eyes. Yes, I'm blanked out, I said, before walking to my table. I took the backpack and put it on my shoulder, but Noah immediately took my bag and walked out. I can carry that, I said, as he ignored and kept walking. I'm not a weak girl, I grunted, as I followed him out. We were now at the Zoladin terrain, Aga, my real home. After Queen Ariana notified Wilfred, we were ported to the Zoladin terrain by Philip under his father's instruction. While we walked up to the top floor, I tried to balance myself. I felt my legs go jelly, and I was literally panting. My heart still felt heavy, and my brain was fuzzy. I almost tripped and fell when a hand grabbed onto my arm. You okay, Vera? Philip's voice came from beside as I looked at him and nodded. I'm just a little tired, I said, smiling as he frowned. All the new reasons you should go for this mission. You are still weak, he said as I shook my head. Philip, we need to go. I know you're worried, but we should defeat the devil without much delay. Please, don't tell them what you saw now. I need to go, please. I need to. I feel like I don't have much time and control over me, I said, as he stared at me. He sighed and let go of my hand as he slowly nods. All right, but I hope you know what you are doing, he said as I smiled and nodded. When we reached the top floor, Wilfred leads us to the forbidden hall. I have never gone to the room. It was at the end of the corridor, and there were no other rooms near it. When I was young, my father always reminded me not to go there, although I feel attracted to the place. Ready? Wilfred asked as I looked at Noah. He nodded with determination as Wilfred turned to me. I'm ready, I said as he nods. His eyes suddenly shined, and he pointed his forefinger on the door before moved it in a zigzag. As he moved, letter I recognized as ancient words appeared before the door clicked and opened on its own. Come on, he said as we nodded and walked in. The room was dark, but Wilfred immediately used his power and lit up the entire room. I gasped as I saw a spell circle on the ground. The words were clearly demonic language, and it was glowing dark crimson red. This is a gateway to the demon world. Your father researched it and drew this so he can have easy access to the demon world. It will manipulate the demon fire to believing you as a demon. It is the only way a non-demon can transport to the demon world. Once you reach there, you should go to the village. As of now, the village is safe, because the devil is not residing there. You have to find Dr. Mish. He will be waiting for you in his office. Dr. Mish will take you to the demon's lair. Wilfred said, as I nodded and looked around. I shivered, as I felt a very dark aura surrounding me. It was so similar to what I feel inside. Perhaps it's because I'm a half-demon. My hand formed into a fist as my head ached. Shall we start? Wilfred asked as I looked at him. Yes, I said, along with Noah. Philip, come. We should get out of the binding circle, Wilfred said, as he and his son worked out of the circle. The process you have is simple, since Veronica is here. Activate your power and recite the demon transportation spell. Since Veronica has studied it, there won't be much problem. Noah holds onto her hand. He instructed as we obeyed. Noah intertwined his hand with mine, and familiar strong sparks filled my body. I looked at Wilfred and nodded, before taking a deep breath and closing my eyes. Of course, I know the demon spell. I was able to learn it very quickly. The language was never hard for me, and I was able to grasp it as a whole. I took a deep breath before I slowly activated my power. My body suddenly started to reject it, and pain took over, but I did my best to endure it. Once my power activated, I started to chant the demon transportation spell. The circle glowed even more bright, and I heard Noah hissed. It's burning, he groaned as I hummed in support. The demon fire was initializing, and it will burn any non-demon person experiencing it. Since I am half-demon, it isn't burning me as much as Noah. I ended the transportation spell by ordering the demon fire to transport me to the demon world. The fire blazed more, and it finally consumed us, making the surrounding blurry completely.